chapter 37. Um, these next two chapters is going to be some redundant stuff. Excuse me. It's going to be kind of redundant. For some of the stuff we heard already, it's still going to description of the temples and the things they're making. So I'm not going to really try to force precepts out of it. But nonetheless, we're going to read through it. If anybody have anything, please bring it out. All right, but right now, we'll do like four. Let's do like 4 verses at a time, Brother Kai. We'll go from there. You can start up, Kai. I'm not going to really nothing particularly new in that last chapter.
Oh, my bad, bro. I had stepped away.
So looking at we like I said, the last chapter still was dealing with some of the things of the temple, descriptions of it, the colors, the incense, all those kind of things. Which is important it's good to know how it was set up, and like I said, you can bring certain correlations there. But yeah, it's going to go into a lot of details with it again. All right. So chapter 37, Exodus 37, and give us 4 verses.
And Baziel made the ark of shittim wood, 2 cubits and a half was the length of it, and a cubit and a half the breadth of it, and a cubit and a half the height of it. And he overlaid it with pure gold within and without, and made a crown of gold to it round about. And he cast for it 4 rings of gold to be set by the 4 corners of it, even 2 rings upon the one side of it, and 2 rings upon the other side of it. And he made staves of shittim wood and overlaid them with gold.
Once again, we already talk about it every chapter, right? We see gold all over the place, covered with gold. Gold is very important. It is symbolic, right? We talked about how we are supposed to be, purged, pure gold, and also supposed to be showing a certain cleanliness and glory to it, right? Remember, he said he chose these men to put this together for beauty and glory. Okay, so when you're thinking about this, right, gold is a glory of itself, right? Definitely, when we talk about riches and stuff like that, gold is precious. Also, it's supposed to show, have a clean look and also be clean, right? Because those that's supposed to be dealing with these instruments that's in the temple, they are supposed to be clean. All right. No point of the vessels being set apart and clean and everything, and then you got the ministers being filthy. Even though a lot of times that was happening, right? But it's supposed to be these clean, pure, and perfect instruments, because this is supposed to be a replica of what's the true heaven, right? But also the minister is supposed to, supposed to be pure and everything dealing with these. Okay. But if nobody got anything they want to add to it, we're just going to keep going. Do another 4 verses.
And he put the staves into the rings by the sides of the ark to bear the ark. And he made the mercy seat of pure gold. 2 cubits and a half was the length thereof, and 1 cubit and a half the breadth thereof. And he made 2 cherubims of gold, beaten out of one piece, made he them on the 2 ends of the mercy seat. 1 cherubim on the end of this side, and another cherubim on the other end on that side. Out of the mercy seat made he the cherubims on the 2 ends thereof.
That's the angels. Once again, they have visuals. You can Google it and see how kind of like certain designs, how they look at it. But it's the 2 angels covering the mercy seat. And a lot of times people will attribute that to having the angels basically almost like bodyguards are always watching. There's a lot of different ways you can interpret that. Keep going.
And the cherubim spread out their wings on high and covered with their wings over the mercy seat, with their faces one to another. Even the mercy seatward were the faces of the cherubims. And he made a table of shittim wood. 2 cubits was the length thereof, and a cubit the breadth thereof, and a cubit and a half the height thereof. And he overlaid it with pure gold, and made thereunto a crown of gold round about. Also he made thereunto a border of a handbreadth round about, and made a crown of gold for the border thereof round about.
Keep going.
And he cast for it 4 rings of gold, and put the rings upon the 4 corners that were in the 4 feet thereof. Over against the border were the rings, the places for the staves to bear the table. And he made the staves of shittim wood, and overlaid them with gold to bear the table.
Mm-hmm.
And he made the vessels which were upon the table, his dishes and his spoons and his bowls, and his covers to cover withal, of pure gold. And he made the candlestick of pure gold of beaten work. Made he the candlestick, his shaft and his branch, his bowls, his knops, and his flowers were of the same.
So we see, like we said, some of the instruments, all these different instruments being covered with gold. All right, the dishes, the spoons, the bowls, all those kind of things. All right. When you're dealing with no, I don't even want to go that route. It's okay. All right. So we see that, and once again, the candlestick. All right. The candlestick, you will see a reference of it. I think Ezekiel might have mentioned it. Some people have breakdowns of that. The candlestick, the natural and probably the most simplistic thing is used for is to keep the light. All right. That was the light source for the temple. It was always supposed to be running. All right. So some people correlate that as, some people say it's supposed to represent the archangels. They being the light, because sometimes, the angels are referred to as lights. We are referred to as lights as well, certain things like that. So some people refer to as archangels being in the, being in heaven and stuff. Some people correlate it to, I'm trying to think of all the breakdowns I heard from it. Yeah, some people just have it as a light, as in also that the Most High is always available, right? When you think of a house, I got the light on and stuff like that, always available, always attentive. Because remember, this is where people will go. They definitely trying to hear from God. They trying to get things, forgiveness, mercy, whatever, right? A lot of our customers definitely go into the temple, right? Whether you're throwing up, giving sacrifices, whether it was peace offerings, whatever it is, you go to the temple. So some people correlate it as almost like, we can say 7-Eleven, right? It's always open. So in that sense that he's always working, he's always answering prayers. Yeah, I ain't gonna go on with it, but for the main thing is that was the light source. Okay. But of course, that number, it makes you want to jump out to say the Most High had a meaning, because he has a meaning for everything he does. And so he probably just ain't throwing a number out there, right? That represents something. And so once again, I'm just trying to think. I don't think there's nothing like verbatim from it that I can remember top of my head. All right. But I think a lot of people just try to grab certain things and correlate it. You'll see it even with the temple with Zechariah. I think he talks about 2 olive trees, and he mentioned the candlestick and everything as well. So once again, it's a candlestick. Okay, we show, we're not trying to replicate that. But you'll see candlestick, that was a light source that they had back in those days. All right. We keep going.
Verse 18, and 6 branches going out of the sides thereof, 3 branches of the candlestick out of the one side thereof, and 3 branches of the candlestick out of the other side thereof. 3 bowls made after the fashion of almonds in one branch, a knot in the flower, and 3 bowls made like almonds in another branch, a knot in the flower. So throughout the 6 branches going out of the candlestick. And in the candlestick were 4 bowls made like almonds, his knops and his flowers. And he knopped under 2 branches of the same. And he knopped under 2 branches of the same. And he knopped under 2 branches of the same, according to the 6 branches going out of it.
Once again, just going to detail how the candlestick is actually made as well. We can keep going.
Their knops and their branches were of the same. All of it was one beaten work of pure gold. And he made his 7 lamps and his snufflers and his snuff dishes of pure gold. Of a talent of pure gold made he it, and all the vessels thereof. And he made the incense altar of shittim wood. The length of it was a cubit, and the breadth of it a cubit. It was 4 square, and 2 cubits was the height of it. The horns thereof were of the same.
Finish it up.
And he overlaid it with pure gold, both the top of it and the sides thereof round about, and the horns of it. Also he made unto it a crown of gold round about. And he made 2 rings of gold for it under the crown thereof, by the 2 corners of it, upon the 2 sides thereof, to be places for the staves, to bear it withal. And he made the staves of shittim wood, and overlaid them with gold. And he made the holy anointing oil and the pure incense of sweet spices according to the work of the apothecary.
All right. So once again, just giving details of the things that's in there. We see the wood source they use, and once again, throwing the gold over top of it. So we can just imagine how beautiful it is. How beautiful it is just seeing all that gold all over the place. Okay. And you see that now when a lot of people attacked Israel, what's one of the things they ransacked is our temple, right? They was taking everything out of that, okay, because it had all that gold, okay. Also that last verse, right? He made the holy anointing oil, okay, so it was set apart oil for them, and pure incense of sweet spices, okay. So we would have incense going in the temple, and like I said, we already talked about what that could be representing, okay. I think that's pretty much it. Okay. Anybody have anything for that chapter? We're gonna go to chapter 38. Right? There is a nice story about I should say a nice story. There's a story about the Ark of the Covenant. And this is why detail is so important. Remember, I told you, we have to learn about our God. Our God is very detail oriented. Okay. One small detail can unravel everything. So when he's giving details with certain things, it's best to pay attention and do it exactly how he's saying it. So we talk about the Ark of the Covenant, things of that nature, making it everything had to be done a certain way, but also who is dealing with it is very, very important. Okay. Call somebody their life. All right. Because they did not follow the instructions. And other people that knew better, right? They should have checked it and said, nah, you can't be dealing with this. Okay. But that story is later on. Also, Israel died by I want to say it's a couple thousand, I think it might have been a couple thousands. Because they looked inside the ark. So the Most High wasn't playing with this. I know it was a natural thing he was mixing with the gold and people were fashioning it, but the Most High when he set things apart, it's different. And this is what the world, right? That's why it's foolishness to the world. Because they say, oh, it don't matter, certain things don't matter. No, when the Most High has set something and told you to do it, it's not just regular instructions. These are now righteous instructions. These are now holy. These are set apart. These are things, spirit, that you can live by. Okay, so it's very important. When we looking and reading these instructions, it's very important to understand this ain't just no regular book. This ain't no. If you look at it like that, you already kind of off. All right, you got to repent and understand the importance of this book and the importance of this word. Is the only instruction that can give you eternal life. Right? There's a lot of so-called wise men with a lot of books, but none of them can give you eternal life. And this is why we talked about on Wednesday with the Apocrypha, right? Those wicked men, they thought and saying, man, there's one thing we can't get out of, and that's getting old and dying, right? And they ponder and they counsel within themselves and saying, you know what? If this is the only life we have, man, we might as well live it up. We might as well have pleasure and, fulfill everything within us, because this is all we got. Okay? But we, the righteous, don't think like that, because what? We know there is something afterwards that we are working now to enter in. Okay? So making sure we understand that. Matter of fact, let's get one. You said something. Christ being tempted. Where is that at? Is that Matthew 4? Let me see. Now I'm being tempted with the spirit trying to tempt me. Yeah, Matthew 4. That's what it is. I know people like to subcategorize it. Oh, this is important. Oh, this wasn't that important. This, I don't like to play that game. All right, it's a dangerous game. All right. Let's get this is Matthew chapter 4. Start at verse 1, brother.
Then was Yahweh led up of the spirit into the wilderness to be tempted of the devil.
Mm-hmm.
And when he had fasted 40 days and 40 nights, he was afterward a hunger.
Mm-hmm.
And when the tempter came to him, he said, if thou be the Son of God, command that these stones be made bread.
Mm-hmm. And that's what he is. The devil is a tempter.
Mm-hmm.
All right. That's his job. All right. And some people even say he was ordained. All right. That's his thing. He tempts. All right. Key word, he tempts. He ain't forced you to do it. He tempts. Right? Why did he offer the bread? Because what? I was hungry. He just didn't eat, drink 40 days. All right. So he'll use those things that he see as your weak points to tempt you, but you ultimately have to make the decision, beloved. Okay. When the tempter came to him, he said, if thou be the Son of God, command these stones be made bread, yada, yada, yada. Verse 4, listen to his response. All right.
But he answered and said, it is written, man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of God.
Mm-hmm. You see that? Man should not live by bread alone. Yes, you need bread. All right. We're not crazy here saying, some people think, oh, I'm just going to live on the spirit out. No, you're going to come back to this flesh. You're going to eat it to sustain. All right. All right. So man should not live by bread alone. That should be your only source. Okay. But what? Every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of God, you're supposed to live by that. Just like you need bread to live, you got to live by these instructions. So when people talk about it, and like I said, I know some of the teachings and doctrines. I get it, right? But you also want to be very mindful, because some things might sound good on the surface, all right, but it can be very dangerous. One of the things is what? This teaching right here. Because a lot of people just go, oh, well, we just take the 10 commandments. We can throw the Old Testament out. We just need those 10. What did Christ say? Read that again in verse 4.
But he answered and said, it is written, men shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of God.
Right? Every word. All right. So Matthew 4:4 said, man shall live not by bread alone, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of God. All right. So, beloved, this is why we put emphasis on the whole book. All right. Because he ain't just speak the 10 commandments. He's instructing all these things. All right. But let's get where he got that from. Let's go to Deuteronomy 8. We just having a little fun because we just reading all through that chapter. I know it can be tough, you know. Deuteronomy chapter 8. And let's start from verse 1. Deuteronomy chapter 8 and verse 1.
All the commandments which I command thee this day shall ye observe to do, that ye may live and multiply, and go in and possess the land which Yahweh sware unto your fathers.
It says what? All the commandments.
All.
Command this day. This one is talking about those 10 commandments.
No.
Why do they always want to? Why they always want to grab this? People don't want to do everything. I get it. Sometimes we want to figure out what's the least amount we can do and still make it in.
Oh.
Right? I get it. Look, Brother Mike, can you just tell me what I got to do? I don't want to go above beyond. I just want to get the bare minimum of what I got to do. Making it, I get it, beloved. And I am really telling you the bare minimum. I ain't even giving you anything further. I'm just saying we got to do what he tells us to do. That's all he told us. If you want to go above it, you can. But the main thing is what? We have to live by all these things. So all the commandments what I give you this day, ye shall observe to do. But this is what the point that people miss. It says that ye may live. All right? And multiply. This live have different things, different context when we're looking at it, right? There's a life we know that's afterwards, right? When we die and, we have a shot, we know there's a life like that. But there is a life, right? When we're talking about we're prospering things like that's what it's talking about. If you observe all that I tell you to do, you're going to live and multiply and go in and possess the land, right? That was promised to you. But beloved, we didn't listen. So what? We got put in captivity. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we here, but we ain't truly living. And you got people, oh, I got your house, so I ain't under curse. I get the whole concept of that, right? I ain't under curse and everything, but it's very obvious. Do y'all think your house wants us to live like how we're living right here? Do you think he wants Halloween right next door? We got the Christmas tree here. You think that's what he wanted for us to be mixed with this? No. But when we were in the land, we could live. We can live in the truest essence of how we're supposed to be. We wouldn't have to worry about, everything, everywhere we turn, there's just, lawlessness and breaking the commandments everywhere. But because we didn't live by every word, this is what happened. Okay, give us verse 2.
And thou shalt remember all the way which Yahweh thy power led thee these 40 years in the wilderness, to humble thee and to prove thee, to know what was in thine heart, whether thou wouldest keep his commandments or no.
Sound familiar? Thou shalt remember all the way. Everything that happened in those 40 years, he said, I want you to remember it. 40 years in the wilderness to what? Humble thee. Some of us are not humble because we forgot where we came from. We forgot that proving ground we was going through those 40 years. And to prove thee. What is he trying to prove? If you remember, we went through a couple of weeks ago, a couple of weeks ago, I believe, right? When he talked about the cooking on the Sabbath, everybody don't go to the beginning where before he said what? I want to prove them to see if they will what? Walk in my law or not. Most High already knows, and this, I hate saying this because the world take it far. He does know what's in your heart. That's not the issue. We don't know what's in our heart. We sometimes don't know how to measure if we love God or not. We will get into our own mind. The proverb says, a man think he's clean in all his ways, but God weigheth the spirit. This is why this thing checks everybody. Brother Michael can think he's clean in everything he do. Man, I'm always thinking I'm right. Yeah, I'm right. Yep, I'm doing that right, right? But there's a law, right? There's a standard that the Most High has. If I'm not doing that, I'm not clean. That's how the spirit is weighed. He's going to weigh us according to the word. And as I said, this is all the way in Proverbs. Same thing you talk about Revelation. Okay? So to humble thee and prove thee to know what is in. Listen, to know what is in thy heart. Of course, we know the Most High knows in our heart, but we'll know. You struggling to do these things that the Most High is saying? It's what? It's something impure that we have to purge out. Okay? A lot of these things is decisions. It's not even, I used to, I'll put it that way, I used to think everything was very hard and complicated. But I tell you, this book is getting smaller and smaller the more I read it. A lot of these things is decisions. He just tell you, this is what it is. Do you want to do it or not? That's all he's saying. Do you want to do it or not? And all we choosing is we can do it or not. That's it. Okay? So it's in our heart whether thou should keep thy commandments or no. All right? Are we going to keep the commandments or not? Verse 3. Verse 3. Listen to this one, because this is where he quotes it from.
And he humbled thee, and suffered thee to hunger, and fed thee with manna, which thou knewest not, neither did thy fathers know, that he might make thee know that man doth not live by bread only, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of Yahweh doth man live.
All right. All right. So he suffered thee to hunger. He made that condition that we'll get hungry. Why? Because he wanted to show us that what? He will feed us. All right. And that we don't live by bread alone. You think you're surviving by your job, what you bring in. No, you don't live by that alone. You live by what? Every word I'm giving you. By my might and by my power. This is how we live. Okay. And this is something we might not know. Read verse 4. A lot of people don't realize this miracle all in itself.
Thy raiment waxed not old upon thee, neither did thy foot swell these 40 years.
People don't even think about that. We had them same garments for 40 years. All right. We look like them cartoon characters wear the same outfit every day, right? We had them same outfits, and they ain't getting raggedy. We get these clothes, a couple years, you start getting holes and everything. That the clothes lasted. See, we ain't even thinking about that. Your foot ain't swell up. You can't be walking for so long. Ain't like they ain't even had all the expensive shoes and all the technology in them. 40 years. He said, I ain't let your foot swell up. We don't even understand how the Most High was with us every step of the way. And he's so good, he don't even mention and show everything he did for us. But this is why I say we need to thank him. All right, we need to thank him. All right, let's go back to Exodus. All right, let's go back to Exodus. That was my sidebar. All right. So Exodus 38, once again, it's going to be a lot of descriptions. Okay. But after we get off of 38, probably for next week, it kind of get yeah, 40, it kind of changed directions a little bit. All right. But let's get through it. Let's get through it. Exodus chapter 38. Exodus chapter 38. Give me 4 verses.
He made the altar of burnt offering of shittim wood. 5 cubits was the length thereof, and 5 cubits the breadth thereof. It was 4 square, and 3 cubits the height thereof. And he made the horns thereof on the 4 corners of it. The horns thereof were of the same, and he overlaid it with brass. And he made all the vessels of the altar, the pots, and the shovels, and the basins, and the flesh hooks, and the fire pans, all the vessels thereof, made he of brass. And he made for the altar a brazen gate of network under the compass thereof beneath unto the midst of it.
Once again, a lot of details of how you want it. We don't need to go keep describing it more, but let's keep going.
Verse 5. And he made 4 rings for the 4 ends of the gate of brass, to be places for the staves. And he made the staves of shittim wood, and overlaid them with brass. And he put the staves and the rings on the sides of the altar, to bear it withal. He made the altar hollow with boards. And he made the lever of brass, and the foot of it of brass, of the looking glasses of the woman assembling, which assemble at the door of the tabernacle of the congregation. And he made the court on the south side southward. The hangings of the court were of fine twined linen, 100 cubits.
You keep going.
Their pillars were 20, and their basin sockets 20. The hooks of the pillars and their fillets were of silver. And for the north side, the hangings were 100 cubits. Their pillars were 20, and their sockets of brass 20. The hooks of the pillars and their fillets of silver. And for the west side were hangings of 50 cubits. Their pillars 10, and their sockets 10. The hooks of the pillars and their fillets of silver. And for the east side eastward, 5 cubits, Salakia. And for the east side eastward, 50 cubits. The hangings of the one side of the gate were 15 cubits. Their pillars 3, and their sockets 3.
All right. So we got one more side to that. Yeah. Something I want us to look at as well. It talks about the description of it. What verse was that? The last verse you read?
14, I think.
Get us to just get it to 16. Just take it up to 16.
Okay. And for the other side of the court gate, on this hand and on that hand were hangings of 15 cubits. Their pillars 3, and their sockets 3. All the hangings of the court round about were of fine twined linen.
So once again, details that we probably a lot of us worry about. All right, but these are high walls. These are pillars. Being descriptive on each side, like I said, because everything counts. Also, this is let me show the replica. Let's take a trip to the New Testament. You know, Revelation where it talks about Jerusalem. I'm not going to say it's a big gate. All right, so read verse 1, then we'll jump down.
And I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth were passed away, and there was no more sea.
All right, so we see a new heaven and new earth. Now, my understanding, I'm saying a new heaven, new earth. I don't believe that the whole earth have to be destroyed, as in this whole thing going to burn up. And he's like, now I got another earth. New. What's another thing when we talk about new? What could that mean? Say something's new. Does it mean you have to destroy it? Now, I will say, beloved, can destroy it when it's something new, something never been. We read that as well, right? But we look at it, remember the Most High designed this thing, it's supposed to be forever. He wanted to last forever. He talks about that as well, right? But we talk about fire and purging, right? That's a way to what? To cleanse something, right? Just like we are tried in the fire of adversity. What? There will be that pure gold. Okay, so this world, all the things of it, it's wicked, saturated with wickedness. All right, so we talking about the burning and things of that nature. Those things got to be destroyed. Okay, so remember, when Christ coming down, everything, right? Earth is still the earth. He's coming back and he's going to beat people up, destroy it, and get what? Set it back in righteousness. All right. So this thing is going to be new because what? It's going to be in righteousness and not being, and not being under wickedness, right? Because wickedness is having its season. The Most High set wickedness, he allowing this stuff to happen. But then when it comes and Christ come and set this thing in order, now it's going to be new. It's going to be purged. Okay. So it's another way to look at it. Either way, ain't no big deal. When Christ come, we'll be able to see regardless. Okay. But that's one aspect of looking at it. So when we look at go to verse 14, because Revelation kind of start telling some stuff. We won't go into all of it, just touch some of it.
And the wall of the city had 12 foundations.
Nope,
And then
sorry, I'm sorry. Go to verse 12.
it had a wall great and high, and it had 12 gates, and at the gates 12 angels, and names written thereon, which are the names of the 12 tribes of the children of Israel.
So this is talking about this New Jerusalem coming down, descending, right? And it's describing all these precious stones. Remember, what were we reading about the precious stones? What were they representing? Remember, the priest had the stones on his chest. How many stones were on his chest? It's 12 stones. Dealing with what? The 12 tribes. This New Jerusalem that's coming down has what? The stones most precious, right? It's talking about that. And then it says in a wall great and high, 12 gates. And at the gates, 12 angels. And the names written thereof were the names of the 12 tribes of the children of Israel. So we see that he's still showing that replica and that he didn't forget Israel, right? Because this city that's coming down, right? I won't dive in what that could possibly be, but this thing that's coming down, we see is representing even Israel with the gates. Okay, so they're entering in. Let's keep going.
13. On the east, 3 gates, and on the north, 3 gates, on the south, 3 gates, and on the west, 3 gates. And the wall of the city had 12 foundations, and in them the names of the 12 apostles of the Lamb.
So the city had 12 foundations, and what was on the foundation? The names of the 12 apostles of the Lamb. Showing you that what? You going to have to be in Christ. You got to be built upon what? Their doctrine. What is their doctrine? The gospel. That's the foundation. Foundation, anybody that builds is most important things. This is why you need that inspector to go and see that foundation, because everything can look nice. They can do a lot of things. That foundation is important, because without that, whole thing can fall apart. So he's saying that foundation. Remember the parable. Was that a parable? No, it might not have been a parable. He talks about that rock, right? It was a wise builder and somebody that wasn't wise. Put it on the sand, and one was built upon the rock. The other one wasn't. And when the storm happened, one got washed away, but the other one didn't, because what? It was on that rock. All right. Mm-hmm. So showing the importance of the apostles and their doctrine, what they're doing, because they are giving us the foundation. Christ is what? The cornerstone. Not again, if you want to keep it naturally, he's trying to show something spiritual. He's the cornerstone of what? It ain't the temple. There's got to be something deeper than that. Okay. The cornerstone, is very important. That set everything in right. He is that foundation that they build upon. This what makes the building correct and perfect. All right. So in the names of the 12 apostles of the Lamb. I wanted. Let me see. I feel like I wanted something else in here. That's good enough. All right. Never mind, never mind. All right, let's go back to Exodus. Let's go back to Exodus. But a lot of those things, definitely read a lot of those things, you can't just look at it. Natural building company, these things are very deep. Okay. Once again, when dealing with visions, a lot of times with visions, beloved, they're giving us things that we can see to try to interpret, but a lot of those things is dealing with something deeper as well. Okay. We see that all the time with visions. All right. Give you something deeper. All right. Exodus, where am I at? 38. Exodus 38. And we left off at
Verse 17, I believe.
all right.
And the sockets for the pillars were of brass, the hooks of the pillars and their fillets of silver, and the overlaying of their chapiters of silver, and all the pillars of the court were filled with silver, and the hanging for the gate of the court was needlework of blue and purple and scarlet and fine twined linen, and 20 cubits was the length, and the height and the breadth was 5 cubits, answerable to the hangings of the court. And their pillars were 4, and their sockets of brass 4, their hooks of silver, and the overlaying of their chapiters and their fillets of silver, and all the pins of the tabernacle and of the court round about were of brass.
We can keep going. Remember those, also that color, right? The colors we see, the blue, the purple, the scarlet. Okay. We see that he's mentioning that often as well. So that seemed like of course, they all God's colors, but that was something he's trying to replicate with it. All right. We'll see the blue. You can make the correlation with the blue as dealing with boundaries, right? We talk about the sky. The sky looks blue to us, right? The water, some people look at that as a boundary. It's blue. When you're going to that, do not have the numbers with the fringes. I won't blank on that. But with the fringes, remember the border of blue, right? So you see those correlations, purple, that could be dealing with royalty, those kind of things. So once again, it's probably looking very wonderful. I wish I could see what it actually looked like, but I'm sure it was definitely a beautiful sight. Let's keep going though. Let's keep going.
Verse 21. This is the sum of the tabernacle, even the tabernacle of testimony. And it was counted according to the commandment of Moses for the service of the Levites by the hand of Ithamar, son to Aaron the priest, and Bezaleel, the son of Uri, the son of Hur, of the tribe of Judah, made all that Yahweh commanded Moses. And with him was Elohab, son of Ahishamach, of the tribe of Dan, an engraver, and a cunning workman, and an embroiderer in blue, and in purple, and in scarlet, and in fine linen. All the gold that was occupied for the work, and all the work of the holy place, even the gold of the offering, was 29 talents, and 730 shekels after the shekel of the sanctuary.
Keep going. We keep going.
Verse 25. And the silver of them that were number of the congregation were 100 talents, and 1,703 shekels after the shekel of the sanctuary. A bakah for every man, that is, half a shekel, after the shekel of the sanctuary. For everyone that went to be numbered, from 20 years old and upward, for 600,000 and 3,550 men.
All right.
And of the
So remember that. I'm sorry, brother.
no,
So
good.
remember with that, with the shekel, remember this is the temple tax. Okay. So when you see this, you'll see the same practice. Remember, this all the way Moses' time, all the way Yahweh's time. They're asked for the same thing. Where is it found? Let's go to it real quick. Matthew 17. Yahusha actually even makes he makes a point in this in this part too. That I know I overlooked plenty of times. I didn't even realize the temple tax the whole time, right?
Me neither.
I was thinking he was renting under Caesar with a Caesar,
Uh-huh.
but was it? All right, am I at the right spot? Yep. All right,
Yeah.
so let's go to this is Matthew chapter 17, and let's go to verse 24. Matthew
Come.
17 and verse 24.
And when they were come to Capernaum, that they received tribute money, came to Peter and said, doth not your master pay tribute?
So
He
let's say,
said,
does your master pay tribute? Okay. And the Romans, they ain't gonna say, "Are you? Do we pay tribute?" They gonna tell you, "Oh, you gonna pay this tribute." All right, but they asking, does he observe this? Does he pay the tribute? Verse 25.
he said, yes. And when he was come into the house, Yahushua prevented him, saying, what thinkest thou, Simon? Of whom do the kings of the earth take custom or tribute? Of their own children or of strangers?
Anybody understand what he's saying there? Anybody understand what Christ is saying with this? Verse 25. Read verse 26 as well.
Peter saith unto him, of strangers. Yahushua saith unto him, then are the children free.
So this is a another clue to let you know it was temple tax as well. Okay. So they're asking for this temple tax. All right. They're asking for it, requesting it. And he's saying, yeah, we'll pay it. Okay. And we're going to tell you that Christ didn't need to pay it. He's kind of, if we can see it, right? So he's saying, yes. When he comes into the house, Yahweh prevented him, saying, what thinkest thou, Simon? Simon, what you think about this? Do the kings of the earth take custom or tribute of their own children or of strangers, right? When people rule, are they asking for tribute from their citizens, their children? Or do they do that from people basically conquering everything? You get tribute money from.
Yeah.
And Peter, like, from strangers. Yahweh said unto him, then are the children free? Basically, we should have to pay for it because we're the children. All right. And you can catch it in verse 27. Read those first to that second verse. I mean, that second comma.
Notwithstanding, least we should offend them.
You see right there. Why is he making that remark? He's saying the children are free. However, I don't want to offend. Why would he want to offend if he's not a Roman and the Romans are asking for tax money? That wouldn't make sense.
Nope.
So he's saying, I don't want to offend our people. They understand. Even though we should be free, I don't want to offend them. Now he goes and do what he do. Okay. So my understanding, this is the temple tax. All right. He don't want to go and break and cause ruffle because then what's the next thing that comes up? Oh yeah, Oshi's he's a traitor. He don't believe he should pay the temple tax. See, and they would try to throw him on the cross. Even though, and this is when we talk about the liberty, you might have liberty to do certain things, but sometimes with that liberty, you got to take that step back and humble yourself. This is what Paul said. I got liberty. I can do this. No, I can't be restrained. Man can't restrain me to this. But even though I have that liberty, it might not edify. Some things might do more damage than good. Yes, you have the right to do it. Listen, you might have the right to do it. However, it wasn't the appropriate thing, right? Is it expedient? Does it edify? Okay. What you ask, sis?
Fine, I yield the floor. Because you haven't read 27, right?
No, I don't think we finished. Go ahead, brother Kai. Read 27 and you can bring it out. Wherever you have.
Oh, my bad. I had to wait for a minute. Okay, let me start again. Notwithstanding, lest we should offend them, go thou to the sea and cast an hook, and take up the fish that first cometh up. And when thou hast opened his mouth, thou shalt find a piece of money. Take, and give unto them for me and thee. Mm-hmm. Big con.
You had something with that, sis?
I was just gonna say the fish had enough for him and for the Christ and Peter, because I think what you just read in Deuteronomy, it was half a shekel for each person. So it was enough for one, the fish had one coin, for each one of them. But that was it. But yeah, fine. Wonderful.
There you go. You get it together. Exactly. All right. So I want to throw. Sometimes I be thinking I don't want to throw y'all into goose chases. There is a theory. I'll put as a theory. You can look at it on your own time how you want. All right. There is a theory that the disciples were, let's say, like teenagers. I know this is shocking as well. When I heard it, I was like, I don't know about that one, right? Some people will go to this verse to say that's why only him and Peter had to pay it, and he didn't pay for all the 12 because they were not of that age. All right. But like I said, whether it is or not, I mean, whether it's true or not, it is. But if you like going on those goose chases and, want to study, look for it, go for it. All right, let's go back to Exodus 38. Right. Let's go back to Exodus 38. Right. So you see that little correlation. Like I said, they will pay it all the males. All right. The males will do it. Okay. And like I said, this wasn't ties. This was something very specific for the males to do when they came out. Okay. What verse did we leave off at in 38?
I believe 27. We can start back up at 27.
All right.
All right. And of the 100 talents of silver were cast the sockets of the sanctuary and the sockets of the veil, and 100 sockets of the 100 talents, a talent for a socket. And of the 1,770 and 5 shekels, he made hooks for the pillars and overlaid their chapiters and filled them. And the brass of the offering was 70 talents and 2,400 shekels. And therewith he made the sockets to the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, and the brazen altar, and the brazen gate for it, and all the vessels of the altar, and the sockets of the court round about, and the sockets of the court gate, and all the pins of the tabernacle, and all the pins of the court round about.
All right. So that's it for that. Let me show y'all. I do have something I want to show y'all afterwards. All right. After we close out, but I want to show y'all a video. I think somebody actually made the tabernacle so y'all can get a visual of the possibility of what it looked like. You're a visual person like me. Sound there. Holy of Holies. The high priest will go in once a year. Blood. Cherubims. The washing, right? The cleansing, the offering. Remember, this is in the wilderness, so remember, put it down, move, keep moving this thing. So they didn't have no permanent structures. All right, that's pretty much it of that. So, like I said, it's little visual that look exactly like that. You can't say look exactly like that, but at least can probably give you some kind of visual. Okay. All right. We do want to close out. All right. Those online. All right. That'll be it for y'all. And we'll see.